In this video, I'm going to tell you how to go backpacking without a stove. Is it possible to get out and adventure without that old stove? Let's find out. Can you get out and adventure without a stove? Is it possible to go backpacking without a stove? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. First of all, I'm going to tell you straight away, yes, you can go backpacking without a stove. And I'm going to read you my list of things that you might want to consider bringing. But there's a few factors that you need to consider before you, hey, you know what, I just want to cut extra weight, get rid of the stove, and then march out into the wilderness. The first is your safety factor. When you go backpacking, and especially because I do a lot of solo backpacking, I always have to consider what is my margin of error. If everything goes wrong, my water filtration system breaks, or my water chemical breaks, or maybe use a steri pin, or a life straw, or the Sawyer. All those factors are a big deal because if you go without a stove, most likely you won't have a pot, because the whole idea of having a stove is so you can heat up water and have your freeze-dried food or whatever you have. So in theory, if you get rid of that stove, you won't bring your pot. So that sounds great, right up into the point where your water purification system fails, you're 3 days into wherever, and you say, oh my gosh, I need to boil water and I can't. What am I going to do? So leaving enough room in your safety factor and your margin is a big deal for how to manage going without a stove. I would definitely, at least in my experience, not go without a stove for a 3-day backpack. I mean, or maybe a 3-night backpack, because that's far enough that if I have some failure, if nothing else, I can get a fire going, I've got a pot, I can boil some water, and I can make things okay for myself. On a 1-night trip, totally doable, but you have to consider the weather, the conditions, the availability of the water, and your confidence with dealing with the emotional impact of not having hot food. See, the whole theory of going without a stove is to make yourself faster because you're lighter, quicker because you're also not spending time firing up the stove. Also, you're not producing as many odors that might go downwind and bring animals that might cause you some trouble. That's always a factor. I mean, don't think that you're munching on your granola bar and no animals are going to come. They smell that stuff even though we don't. But not having that stove and those nice fumes wafting down a mile down the trail, that can be a big deal. So I like that concept of not backpacking without a stove. Also, there is the thing about not having to deal with the fuel, whether you use a pocket rocket or denatured alcohol like I do, or white gas or whatever. There's just a lot of different factors that are of huge benefit without backpacking with backpacking without a stove, sorry. But the one thing that's really hard to deal with is the emotional factor of not having a hot meal. On a short trip, on a 1 or 2 night trip, you can go without a hot meal, you can deal with it. But very interestingly, once you get past that hot meal is actually a great psychological reset to keep you going. Even ultra long distance hikers like Andrew Skirka, people like that, Flying Brian, they bring a stove even though they're ultralight fanatics. I'm an ultralight nut, but I'm not a fanatic yet, just because to get that extra little bit of weight off, I had to do some more extreme things that I don't really care to do. It's not worth to find an extra light Ziploc bag for me. At that point, I'm not going 7,000 miles, so I don't care. But going 1 night without a warm meal, it actually kind of stinks, but man, it's like, wow, that's so refreshing. But consider too, that when you go without a stove, your caloric intake is going to become a problem, because let's say your freeze-dried meal is 500 or 600 calories, or if I get the 3 serving, it's pretty crazy, the 3 serving macaroni and cheese, that sucker can be up to 900 calories. Now, your standard Laura bar can be 120 to 200 calories depending on what that is. or your Pro bars are 230 to 350. Are you ready to sit down for your dinner and chow down 5 Laura bars, 3 Pro bars in a single sitting? Exactly. So that's something you have to be careful about, is at the night, you'll chow down your granola, your Pro bar, your Laura, Cliff bar, whatever, and you think, oh yeah, I ate dinner and I'm fine. And then an hour later, your stomach, right? Oh crud, I need to eat again, but I've just brushed my teeth. Well, I'm hungry, I better eat this. And then sure enough, an hour or two later, you're hungry again because you didn't have that nice big protein hit. Now that's the thing about backpacking without a stove, is you really want to get some fat and protein in that dinner, especially the fat if you can, because that'll carry you through the night. Also, that warm meal can help you warm up, so if it's chilly or downright cold, even though it's the summer, that's a big factor too. But let me read down a quick list I put together just to consider the things you might want to bring. A gourmet packet of Gorp. Now that chocolate's really good. Dehydrated hummus and chips and bagels. Yum. Cake. You can actually bring cake, like pancakes or cupcakes with you. Protein shakes used with cold water. That's actually pretty slick because you can put it into your Nalgene bottle or whatever you use, slam that down. Do be careful. Don't go crazy with the protein shake, but that is a good way to cheat the system. Granola eaten dry with a little cold water added. Really what I would do is my cereal mix with a huge grip of granola, enough powdered milk to make 1 cup of milk, and 3 heaping tablespoons of cane sugar. That's a great warm-up breakfast. And it's a great dinner because that's over 600 calories. So that is an option for you to eat for dinner. Small wheels of Edam or Gouda cheese, those little wax wheels of cheese. Oh, now there's a trick because you get enough fat in your dinner, that'll hold you over into the morning so you're not waking up at 2 a.m. cold, hungry, and like, why in the heck didn't I bring a stove? Hot sausages or salami, maybe some summer sausages? Yeah. Consider cheese plus salami. That is a rockin' dinner. I love that sort of stuff. But again, be careful because you have to cut the food, which means you're handling a knife 40 miles out in the middle of nowhere. So do be careful about that. Tuna Kids are great. Starfish, or it was a Star-Kissed, Bumblebee, all those companies make these neat little, I call them tuna kits, where they've got the can or pouch of tuna, the mix, the crackers, the whole thing. You could eat 2 of those bad boys for dinner and get away without a stove. Also, you can go with the peanut butter, honey, tortilla, mega meal and load up with those bad boys too. I'm just salivating thinking about that. Yeah, I'm at home, so I don't want to eat that kind of dinner, but you know, that sort of thing. Or bagels. Bagels, you can't really bring cream cheese. It'll probably go bad, but bagels and honey or bagels and peanut butter, that's a heck of a dinner. Also, Pro bars and Laura bars, they're really good. And I list those as the last because you can certainly do it. I lived off Pro bars in Antarctica for 3 months, consider that. But just note that eating those bar foods after you've eaten bar foods all day, it can kind of wipe you out. So just consider that the weight reduction of getting rid of the stove and not backpacking with it is totally cool, but the psychological impact of, man, I really wish I had a warm dinner, yeah, that you have to really manage and be honest with yourself. Some people just can't handle it, and that's okay. I mean, my whole stove kit is less than half a pound, or it's like 1/3 of a pound. I mean, I love it. Titanium pot, little wire rack, and a Pepsi can, beer can stove. Man, that thing's lasted me 20 years. I could throw that stove off the Empire State Building. It would bounce off the street. I could pick it up, put some fuel in it, and light it, and it'll keep going. So just think about that. Even though ditching the stove is super nice, you increase your risk by cutting your safety margin down. You're not going to manage your psychological state through the night as well with a cold meal. And then 2, there's just something about that warm little fire when you're all done backpacking for the day. You get it going and oh man, this is great. But 2, you have no way to boil water if you ditch that pot and your water filtration system goes bad on you. So it is definitely possible to go backpacking without a stove. I gave you some good ideas in this video, and during the summer when it's super warm, the forecast is perfect, and you don't expect any problems, that's the best way to try that sort of thing. I've done it several times. I'm not super thrilled about the thought, but knowing that I can do it makes my pack lighter and makes me faster. I hope you found this video useful and helpful. Please like and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel. My name is Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and professional adventurer. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy your outdoor adventures.